So with this in mind, we put it in our backpack and we head over in our journey, asking ourselves, what are those reflexive pronouns for God's sake? Decide yourself with your own brain as a reflex. Now, do you know how to say to go? One of the craziest ones are right now on the screen. So what if I told you watching this video is a reflex of yours and you're actually not thinking? Crazy, right? At least for an English brain, that is. But completely legit for a Romanian one. Eu mă uit la Romanian Academy pe YouTube. A reflexive verb doing its reflexive thing. But what does it really mean? What verbs are reflexive? And didn't a uita mean to forget? Also, why can I not just say mă uit televizor? I mean, you should watch the TV, not at a TV, right? I am Ștefan from the Romanian Academy, and by the end of this video you should be able to use the reflexive verbs in present tense and be able to practice this topic with handcrafted materials and exercises just for you. Now, I said the reflexive verbs in present tense because the other tenses and moods will be covered in a later video. Also, a bit of a disclaimer, this lesson is for A2, early A2, and I will keep it mostly in English with very occasional Romanian. If you don't know what level you are, or you need some guidance for that, head over to our website, romanianacademy.com, and you can find there a lot of materials and resources to propel you in your Romanian journey. There is a test over there to assess you, and also free chats with me if you want to further discuss the subject. Now, if you are here and this wasn't clear already, you should know already the present tense. If you don't, you can find a playlist to season 3. I hope I'm pointing the finger in the right direction. Over here. So once again, the present tense was crucial for this lesson. And now, if you know it, we can go to the next step, which is exactly talking about it. And looking at these verbs on the screen, you see here trezesc, vezi, crede, iubim, locuiți, a lot of verbs, a lot of persons as well. It's conjugated in eu form, in tu form, in he, she form, in we form, in you form, plural, and so on. This is present tense. This is a really quick recap if you didn't remember what that is. So with this in mind, we put it in our backpack and we head over in our journey, asking ourselves, what are those reflexive pronouns for God's sake? And they are really just some really short words, as you can see there on the screen. Not here, don't look at me, just look at the screen. You have a table, and you see that on the left hand side you have the eu, tu, el, ea, the personal pronouns, and then on the right hand side you find the reflexive pronouns for that matter. On the left you have the basic pronouns like I, you, he, she, they, and then on the right you have basically the myself, yourself, himself, herself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. There are just 5 words you need to remember, not even 6, because the se repeats in third person. Easy, right? But how do I know when to use them? Well, for that, you should look for this, for a se. A se, apart from the University of Economic Studies in Bucharest, which has very funny stories, check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. A se is also the infinitive of the reflexive verb. You don't just have a trezi, a se, a vedea, and so on. You have a se trezi, a se vedea, a se crede, a se iubi, a se hotărâ, a se coborî, and the list can go on. Now, let's put the pronoun and the verb together to make the best reflexive sandwich. And let's take, for example, a se hotărâ. Here, if you conjugate it, if you take the present tense hotărăsc, hotărăști, hotărăște, hotărâm, hotărâți, hotărăsc, you just have the reflexive pronouns added to it. If you are lucky enough to know another Latin language, or a language that has reflexive verbs, then this should really come super easy. You just know the pronouns, and then there you go. For an English brain, however, this is a bit confusing. And it might be like, why am I using it like that? Well, I said at the beginning, you use it reflexively. You do it to yourself. If you remember the pronoun table from earlier, you do it to yourself. So you decide yourself with your own brain as a reflex. Now, as I said, this might not come naturally. And also, if you remember the list from earlier, I didn't put all the verbs over here. Now, why did I not do that? Stefan must have a plan or something, right? Well, I actually do. Because if you look at the list from earlier on the right and the list from now on the left, you see there are red verbs which are actually not on the left. The reason is very simple. You actually don't or should not think that all verbs are reflexives. As I said, the action needs to be done yourself. You cannot live yourself in Romanian, that doesn't make sense. You cannot be yourself in Romanian, again, that doesn't make sense. And you cannot go yourself in Romanian, that really doesn't make sense. For instance, to be yourself in Romanian can work, but that's a very advanced topic, probably C1 actually. And to know that, you need to go a long way from here. But until then, let's focus on what we got here on our plates. The reflexive verbs, you'll always see them with ase. Yeah, again, not the university, not the academy, the verbs. So you start with the reflexive verbs, you learn reflexive verbs, and then you learn how to conjugate them, and you will be quite straightforward. And a very comprehensive list for that is over here. Some of the most common ones, really. You can see them here. If you look at all of them, they are kind of reflexes. You do them because they either are your habit or it's a very straightforward habit. Not all of them respect this rule, really, but most of them do. And you can see here some of the most common, some of the most important verbs. Now, a trick question that's crucial to move forward. Do you know how to say to go other than a merge? Well, if you do, then you'll find the next part very easy. Because actually, why are you even here if you know how to say a se duce? But anyways, if you don't know how to say a merge and a se duce, and if you don't know they're the same thing, then you can see here on the screen, eu merg la piață and eu mă duc la piață, which are exactly the same thing. But separately, you see, eu duc mașina la service, right? So, what's happening here is very simple. You have aduce, which is to take or to carry, and then you have a se duce with a reflexive, which means basically to take, to carry yourself, or simply put, to go. Cool. So what this translates to is I go to the market, and I take the car to the service. So you see here, mă duc and duc, they have fairly different meanings in English, which is really the next subjects we're going to cover. And that is that there is a difference between the meanings of the reflexive and the non-reflexive verbs. And some of the craziest ones are right now on the screen. If you look at them, apart from a se duce and aduce, which is easy peasy already, should be, you have a uita and a se uita. We chatted earlier about that thing that tu te uiți, te uiți, reflexive, la Romanian Academy pe YouTube. Ok? Deci, ce faci? Nu uiți, you don't forget, te uiți la Romanian Academy. That's the second verb here, and it's probably one of the most interesting one. We will find later in a too that the reason you say la, mă uit la, is because some verbs really need a preposition. If you don't know what prepositions are, if you need a bit of help, we have a video about that. Again, I hope I'm pointing to the right place. It's over here. And also, in addition to that video, we will cover very soon a list of verbs that need specific prepositions in the same way you do in English. Right. Other examples are a lăsa, eu las cana pe masă, eu mă las de cafea. Which is actually not true. I just bought a really expensive coffee earlier and I really am questioning my life right now. Then, a pricepe and a se pricepe. Yeah, so eu pricep ce spui. I understand what you're saying. Eu mă pricep la fotbal. Which I definitely don't if I'm wearing this jersey. A ruga and a se ruga. Eu rog tatăl meu să mă ajute. I ask my father to help me. Eu mă rog la whatever God you believe in. I pray. Yeah. A plânge and a se plânge. Maybe write a sentence with that in the comments down below. How would you use a plânge and a se plânge in a sentence? And I will check the comments out. Now, if this topic was too difficult for you, maybe re-watch the video. Or you can check the PDF that's complementary to this video. The links are down in the description and the pinned comments. And you don't need to listen to me rambling all about random stuff like I do here on YouTube, but take everything at your own pace. As if that would be the case. Dative reflexives are next. And they look like this. So, aș imagina, aș aminti, aș dori, aș permite, and a few more, and well, many expressions, but one very important mention here is that the reflexive datives, yeah, what we've been talking about until now, they were reflexive accusatives. Now we're looking at reflexive datives. They are two different types of reflexives. Now, I wouldn't get too afraid of these datives and accusatives and whatnot. Learn everything we've done so far, and then just learn those. 4. That's it. And in addition, because, I mean, at the end of the day, for the accusatives, you just had to learn 5 new words. And also the fact that they have 2 different meanings depending if they are reflexive or not, sometimes. Well, here it's not that complicated. It's easier because the datives don't really have a meaning on their own. They have to be used reflexively. And aș da seama. There are many expressions. This means, by the way, do you know what that means? Aș da seama? Write in the comments if you do. Or I will explain it in the class on Patreon. So, the pronouns are this. It's își, ne, vă, își. And in addition to what you saw earlier with the translation, you don't just have myself, yourself. You also have 2 or 4. Yeah, you also have this idea that you imagine to yourself. It might not make any sense, and to be honest, it doesn't really matter at this point. But if you want to do the transition from A2 to B1, you might need to know or want to know this because, trust me, it's gonna become a pain. So, 5 new words to remember. Yeah, using aș imagina, for example, you could conjugate it. Îmi imaginez, îți imaginezi, își imaginează, ne imaginăm, vă imaginați, and își imaginează. And that's it. Now let's do some exercises, guys. Try what we have here and let us know in the comments your answers. or pause this video and answer them, and then we'll join with the answers in a second. So, alege forma corectă, choose the correct form. So, the answers are a bit like this. Maria duce merele acasă, Maria se duce la magazin, te trezești de vreme, vorbește mai încet, trezești copiii. So, Maria takes the apples home, Maria goes to the shop. Are you waking up early? Talk more quietly. That doesn't sound right. Let me know if my English is bad there. Trezești copiii. And îmi doresc ori doresc o porție de cartofi la micul dejun. No, îmi doresc ori doresc o porție de cartofi prăjiți. So both of those work here. It's one of the very few verbs that you can really use them interchangeably. You just don't find this very often, but a dori is very special in that regard. So îmi doresc and doresc, they can be used pretty much interchangeably. Reflexive dative or non-reflexive. If you use it in accusative reflexive, well, don't use that unless you're a narcissist. And you can find more of these exercises on Patreon with a lot more stuff and fun activities. Because if these exercises weren't enough for you, and I assume they weren't really, let's be honest, we have more. And they go from basics to the advanced things when it comes to reflexive pronouns. To use them right when nuances matter. Check out then the links in the description and the pinned comment. Now that we've gone through all of it, you'll probably be able to use the reflexives more accurately and not say eu văd televizorul anymore. Use a se uita correctly. Regardless of your choices, I do encourage you to go and continue this study with the extra class we have on Patreon. In that class, we solve all these exercises and we answer more questions, add things that you might not have heard in this video. Now, if you're really curious, this video goes hand in hand with the direct objects video. The link is up here. They are kind of complementary. And don't forget about the RomanianAcademy.com. We have tutoring. La revedere!